What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Combat and Kick It. You already know it's your host, Bando, and we got some stuff to talk about. So let's get ready to kick it, kick back, relax, and let's talk combat. So the first thing today that I really want to discuss and talk about is that Cheeto Vera Corey Sandhagen matchup. I think that matchup is fucking A1. I think I mentioned it before in the last podcast talking about fights that we need to see in 2023. I want to see Cheeto Vera versus O'Malley too. But we got, in my opinion, an even better matchup stylistically, an even more fun fight between Cheeto Vera and Corey Sandhagen. The only thing that sucks about this, I'm pretty sure it's a main event, February 14th or 13th, I think. The only thing that sucks about this fight's in the Apex, which I'm not sure why they chose to put this fight in the Apex and didn't, try to put it in a normal arena. But I don't know. I don't know nothing about that side of business. So, but all I know is the matchup is phenomenal, and I wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to talk about the fate of the bantamweight division at that point. From this fight and from the winner, what happens to the bantamweight division? Where does it go? So obviously we got Aljamain Sterling, bantamweight champion, supposed to be fighting former bantamweight champion and former flyweight champion, also known as Triple C, Henry Cejudo, up in March, I think. Either March or maybe in February in the Perth card, but I'm pretty sure it was March they were supposed to fight. They talked about it. It's in discussion. I don't know if it's official yet, but it seems pretty close. But the rumor is that fight's going to happen. If not, it might be Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley, which I just don't understand that being a matchup that makes any sense. But again, I don't know that part of business either. I kind of just watch the fights and talk about the shit that I want to see and hope we can see. But if these two in this main event in February between Corey Sandhagen and Cheeto Vera go out and make a statement, either one comes out with a finish that night, a big win, a big finish, I think really puts a stamp on your next title contender. But if you just go in there and show out, you have a fantastic performance. I mean, the way Cheeto Vera did Rob Font, if Cheeto Vera goes in there and does that to Corey Sandhagen, I think it's automatic title shot too. I think they can all skip Sean O'Malley in that realm of getting a title shot next. I know Sean O'Malley keeps saying that his next fight specifically will be for a belt, but who knows? Maybe that's not until the fucking end of 2023. Maybe that's not until, September, October, November. It could be far down the line. We don't know. The year just started, and obviously like I said, we have a few different discussions of a bantamweight matchup between the champion and the former champion, possibly February or March. Who knows? Maybe it'll be April, May. You never know. These things tumble sometimes. You get the date that they say it's going to happen, and then it tumbles. I think March would be a perfect time. If you did Jones and Gano as the main event, and the co-main event was Aljo and Henry Cejudo, I think that sells enough right there. I think that's a big card. You add some banger fights for the fans on that card, and trust me, no one's going to complain. People will be sitting in front of their TV screens on that Saturday night to watch that fight. In my opinion, I think Aljamain Sterling actually will beat Henry Cejudo. I think he's got enough skill, and I think he's big enough. I think the wrestling, obviously we know Henry Cejudo is an Olympic wrestler, so it's hard to say that the wrestling is on the same base, but this is MMA. It's a different type of wrestling, and Aljo knows how to mix it up well. He knows how to blanket guys, and like I said, he's very big. Cheeto Vera called him out recently and said that the dude's like 180 pounds before he cuts weight to 135. He's a weight bully. I don't know nothing about the weight bully stuff. To me, I understand where Cheeto comes from, but at the same time, I understand where Aljo comes from. If I can make the weight, so fucking what? It is what it is. He's cutting the weight. He's the one putting his body through the stress of making that big-ass cut, 30, 40 pounds, if that's legit, if that's really what he has to do. That's on him. That's on Aljo. So it's really nobody else's business if he chooses to do that or not. But I do understand where Cheeto Vera comes from calling him a weight bully. Now, this whole thing with the bantamweight matchup that I mainly want to talk about with Cheeto and Corey, I know I kind of got off track there, but with this matchup that I want to talk about, I'm basically coming off of what Corey Sandhagen was saying in one of his interviews recently. He was talking about he kind of sees at Cheeto Vera, I guess not really as one dimensional, but only has a one way ticket to a win. And that is a finish, and that's like a Hail Mary finish. And yeah, we have seen Cheeto Vera down in his past fights. We definitely have seen him down. He was down against Frankie Edgar. I wouldn't say he was down against Dom. I just don't think he was throwing a lot. I think Cheeto is a slow starter. And once he gets comfortable and he downloads the data, reminds me of like a Tank Davis type of guy. He downloads the data and that kill shot's coming sooner or later. He's reading for it the whole fight and he eventually gets it. I think he's so dangerous that it's always a threat. So I understand where Corey sees that he's, a one-dimensional type of finisher, I guess. The only way he can win is a finish. Maybe Corey thinks that he can outlast him. Maybe Corey thinks he can submit him. I'm not sure. But in this matchup, I think it comes down to this. If Corey wants to come out with the win, I think Corey has to stick with the way that he fights. He has to stay moving, a lot of lateral movement, strikes in between, a lot of volume. You know what I'm saying? The same type of thing that we saw him do against Song Yadong. Get in tight, land volume. He throws a lot of strikes, so he puts it like a hard thing for the judges to really score because he's in tight. Even though if he takes damage, he's in tight, landing a lot, and he throws a lot. He throws a lot of volume. He did against Petr Yan. He did against T.J. Dillashaw. He did against Song Yadong. He does it against pretty much everybody. He has a very high volume pace. I think if Corey sticks with that and does not get frozen by the striking or by anything that Cheeto does, I think Corey wins the fight. Now, in my opinion, I think Cheeto needs to mix it up. Show everybody that you got every little bit of the game in your back pocket. Obviously, we know Cheeto can strike. Obviously, we know he has power in his legs. He's got power in his hands. Maybe he mixes in the ground game a little bit, starts wrestling a little bit, maybe some jiu-jitsu, some work off his back. Who knows? He needs to mix it up. He needs to get in positions that Corey would not expect to be in positions with Cheeto Vera. Obviously, Corey thinks he is the better all-around fighter, and I guess we'll just see that in February. But in my opinion, I can see Cheeto coming out with the win. Corey has a very similar style in a sense of being awkward and a lot of movement like Dominic Cruz. Now, Dominic's movement is constantly with the hands down and he sways his head. Corey doesn't really sway his head. Corey's more of like a strike and move to the right, strike, move to the left. Closer to a Volkanovski stylistically when it comes to his striking on how he moves. And he's got good defense. He's got good defense and he's got a chin. We have seen that. He's proven that. And he's been against some of the toughest punchers. But same as Marlon Vera, he's been against some of the tougher punchers in the division and he shows that he has a chin. So I think this matchup is a match made in heaven. One, for the fans, and two, for the bantamweight division to really know who is next in line. Because to me, Sean O'Malley isn't really next in line. Yeah, he may think that his next fight himself is for the title, right? But that doesn't mean the next fight for the title is Sean O'Malley. So, I don't know. I think this fight makes more sense. The winner of this, a big win, a big finish, or a big decision. However, if it's one-sided, if it's fight of the night, fight of the year, whatever, I think either one of these two deserve the title shot much more than Sean O'Malley if it comes down to it. I think they should be able to lap him if that is the case. And also, if the Henry Cejudo and Aljo thing is not official, right, and they can't get that booked, like I said, sometimes they tend to have these things booked, but they tumble and they go months and months and months and months, and you never actually end up getting the fight until 5-6 months past what it was supposed to be. So if they're supposed to go in March and they don't end up going in March or February, whenever, and it leaves an open slot, you let Marlon and Corey go in February, and maybe 2-3 months later, you run that International Fight Week, July or August or something like that, in the summer, a big card, you run that as a title, the main event, main event, co-main event, it really doesn't matter. It'd be kind of cool to see some bantamweights in the main event of a title shot, or I can't talk, title matchup. I think that would be pretty damn dope. I don't really know the last time we saw that. Maybe, maybe Dillashaw Garbrandt 2? Was that a main event? Maybe. I gotta do my research on that. It might have been Cejudo versus, I don't know, I think Shevchenko was the main event on that card. See, man, there's so many freaking cards. So many freaking cards. It's hard to remember all of them. Shit. I've been watching since UFC 100. Cleanly, like, watching since UFC 100. UFC 100 being my first live pay-per-view that I've ever watched. So, from then on, I've been watching almost every single pay-per-view. I try to catch every pay-per-view. I try to catch every free card. You know, a lot of the times I miss the early prelims, so a lot of the up and comers I miss out on. I gotta get more hip to them because there's a lot of nasty dudes out there that are on the come up that aren't in like the talked about realm. A lot of people have their already next up picked, and your names are being talked about. There's a lot of guys who aren't being talked about yet that are still putting on amazing performances. So I got to get hip to more of the prelim fighters and early prelims and make sure I'm watching those too. But like I said, I try to catch everything. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It is what it is. But I know for a fact I will not miss Chito Vera versus Corey Sandhagen. I will be sitting right in front of my screen. I mean, literally, we're talking about two of my favorite fighters in all of the UFC. And of course, this is one of my favorite divisions. If you heard me talk about on my Spotify and Anchor podcast, I'm a huge fan of the bantamweight division. So I can't wait to see this matchup. I hope it's a fight of the night type of fight. I would love for it to be the fight of the night type of fight. You never know. It could be a boring fight. It could be super exciting. Could be one round. Could be five. You never know with these damn things. You never know who's going to go out. You never know who's going to show out. You never know who's going to show up or not show up. So it's the best thing about fighting is you never know. You always think you may know, but you never know. You never truly know. Alls I do know, though, besides the fact that I'm going to be watching that fight, I know for a fact that you need to like and subscribe and click that notification button if you enjoyed this video.